TSN Hockey Insider to the program, Darren Dreger. Hello, Dregs.
Hello, gentlemen. Yes.
How are things in Buffalo?
Well, not great. Buffalo's on the road. They've got a juggernaut to face tonight in the Colorado Avalanche. But other than that, I mean, they're dinged up. A lot of teams are playing through injuries. The Buffalo Sabres have a laundry list of guys on the sideline, but, you know, it's the next man up routine, right? Everybody's dealing with it. But no, Marty Biron was, old Blue Eyes was smiling and in fine form for the segment. Brian Duff, I mean, bringing the heat as he always does every week on the segment. So it was a good time.
What the hell are they doing in Buffalo? Like, this is no bueno. I don't care.
Generally speaking,
you can't go 14 or 15 years without making the playoffs to go, oh, they're injured. So
the Bills lost to the Dolphins. The Sabres.
Yeah, that was a kick to the Bills in many ways. Like, you know, you had I'm fortunate enough to watch a lot of Sunday football with Miami Dolphins fans. Weirdly enough, like, I mean, close enough to Buffalo that you would think that you'd be just swarmed by Bills fans. And there's enough of those, which can get nauseating from time to time. But in this case, as one of my buddies who's a Dolphins fan, diehard, by the way, said, the Dolphins can't even tank right. Like, you know, you play Buffalo, that should be an automatic loss. Nobody's going to get surly about it if you're a Miami Dolphins fan. Instead, they cruise in there and they do what they did. So I don't know, but yeah, pumped them. And as for the Sabres, like they are showing signs that they're apparently not showing signs.
You know, I love you, but this is just
drinking the Kool-Aid right now.
Quite a yarn here.
Yeah. Well, look, you know what? There's only so many times you can talk about change and then change doesn't happen, right? What does change look like? Does change look like ownership change? Maybe.
It might. Because I got to think he's getting sick of it. Like, he's a huge fan and wanted to support the community and the city and owns the Bills too, and has done a wonderful thing in a way.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, this just gets into deep Sabre talk, and nobody cares. They sell that team. The next guy buying it don't want to operate in Buffalo.
No, you don't think so? Well, not with that building, right?
No, that building is not ideal. And there's not enough, again, boring Buffalo. There's not enough corporate money in Buffalo to make a real. So unless you have the Chipman family who own the Jets, right?
Yeah. Part of it. David Thompson is the big owner.
Yeah, and they're just going, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not a financial decision. Like, you're going to see increase probably just because of time. The franchise value might go up. But unless you're going deep playoff runs, and even then, I don't know what kind of revenue you're generating to pay your bills. Like, I think that's a loss lead. And some of these guys own these places to lose money. And I don't give it. It's not my business. But if you're operating as trying to make money on this thing, and I don't know who's buying the team in Buffalo that has enough money to just need the write-off.
Yeah.
I think it's a big problem.
It could be, and then that trickles down too, right? You know, I mean, you know, you saw the comments from Tage Thompson earlier in the year. You know, they still haven't got Alex Tuck signed, and it's super quiet on that front. You know, that's Alex Tuck is it's a big part of moving forward. If you're a Sabres fan, I would think, because that's
I wonder about that. I'm interrupting you because I'm passionate about the Sabres. I think Tuck's hurt all the time, and those fans are sick of it. They like him and they want him, but they dumped Eichel, and he was a big piece of it, and they like how he plays. But if you heard all the time, what are we talking about? Now we're just rewarding another guy for sticking around, getting older, and not being able to contribute.
Yeah, and then look, I think Tuck would obviously he's willing to entertain the idea of staying there long term, but I also don't think that he's opposed to, okay, you want to play this out? I'll go to free agency and you know, I'll make my decision accordingly. But if you're Kevin Adams or the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres, and you're getting closer to the trade deadline, and you don't have him signed, like, how many really good pieces, and you're right, Tuck has hurt a lot. How many good pieces can you send out somewhere else and not get a return coming back that is going to help you. It seems like they play from the same playbook every year, and it just doesn't get better.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're not allowed to say it, but I will. It's his fucking playbook. So how about we gas that guy first? Right?
And by
like,
that guy,
it's been
you're
his
talking about
playbook
Kevin
long
Adams?
enough that it's like, this is your team. So let somebody else play with the toys.
Yeah.
Dregs, our buddy up the road here, Jay Rosehill, former Leaf, does the Leaf stuff with our network, put out a thing earlier this morning saying he's hearing about Rasmus Andersson, that the Leafs are working to bring in Andersson. This is probably not, I'm sure this is probably to some extent been
now I wonder, did he hear that with his alumni jacket on when he
I don't know.
At the game the other night in the alumni suite, eating the free dinner and all that.
There's perks. There's not many, but there are some perks for sure.
Well, look, I mean, in the moment, you guys know how Brad Treliving operates, and he makes hundreds of calls a year, and that's probably underestimating the reality of what he does. I can tell you with certainty that he thought they were close on a Rasmus Andersson trade at the trade deadline last year, and maybe it was Calgary, Craig Conroy, that decided, okay, we're going to back away for a different, whatever. I mean, they still held out hope that there was a deal that they could extend him with. They were looking at other opportunities. Didn't love the idea of sending him to Toronto and watching him every Saturday night, blah, 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 that sort of stuff. I don't know. But I do know that they spent a lot of time on trying to acquire Andersson. At that point, it falls through. Now they've got a punt, and they turn to the Boston Bruins and give up, a decent prospect in Fraser Minton and a first-round draft pick for Brandon Carlo. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. And anybody who spent 10 minutes watching the Maple Leafs play this year, it's not all about the defense. It's how they play as a team defensively that is no good this year, right? That's not all on the defensive core. It really isn't. But you can tell that they're playing a little bit scattered. McCabe doesn't look as confident as he normally is. No Chris Tanev, he's hurt. And no real word on when he's coming back. That's a big loss defensively. Brandon Carlo, I don't know, man. He just doesn't have it this year, and on and on and on it goes. But let me ask you guys, again, if you couldn't acquire Rasmus Andersson at the trade deadline, how are you getting him now, less than 20 games into the season, or at any point in the near future? Because you don't have to be a Toronto Maple Leafs guru to look at what they don't have. Yeah. They don't have really anything coming. They've got Ben Danford, who's a real good young Ontario Hockey League defenseman. They've got Easton Cowan, who's a decent enough forward, and they've got a first-round draft pick in 2028. They don't have 26, and they don't have 27. Yeah. So if you're Craig Conroy, you know who you're asking for? You're asking for Matthew Nyes, or you're asking for something like that, provided that.
Does Easton Cowan not move the needle in a move like that?
I like him. He's a good young player, but I mean, if you're Toronto now, you have to be sure, like obviously a contract extension would have to be part of it. And what does that look like from Andersson's perspective? I don't know. I mean, you got to get into that equation.
He's already turned down a deal that included that, right?
Yeah. Easton Cowan would have to be part of it. Like again, I'm not being a smartass. If it's not Matthew Nyes or a good young legit NHL player, what is it? And Conroy might have pressure from above to say no. Like we're not throwing in the towel here. It's too early to do that. We need legit NHL players if you're trading Rasmus Andersson right now. So Easton Cowan and Ben Danford, I mean, they might be a part of a future, but if you're trading Andersson anytime soon, maybe that's the acknowledgement. Okay, we're a last place team in the National Hockey League. We're pushing the 20-game plateau here, and it doesn't look like it's getting better. So maybe it is time to cut bait. I just think that's a tough sell for management to ownership for me at this stage.
Yeah.
Are they chasing it? Wow. This Leafs thing is with the goaltending situation, like and like you talk, if they don't win now, how are they? I mean, I guess you can always trade someone to recoup some of these assets to help out and build again. But boy, the cupboard's getting pretty bare.
Really bare. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate reality. I mean, we conjure these things up as we're sitting and we're off air and we're getting ready for pre-games and Leaf intermissions and all of that. It does feel like if Toronto misses the playoffs this year, especially if they miss the playoffs, but if they get punted in the first round again, that there is going to have to be some form of about face. What does that look like? You can't hang the blame on Mitch Marner anymore. So are you looking at Morgan Riley? Again, full trade protection. Would you do the unthinkable and look at Nylander or potentially Austin Matthews? Can't imagine, but stranger things have happened. What do you do when you're in that predicament? So they're not having those conversations yet, but I can't remember. I'd like to give credit to the website or the account that posted this on social media. But I think going into tonight, Toronto has a 22% chance of making the playoffs and a 1% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. How they formulate those numbers, I don't know. But that doesn't bode well for Brad Treliving and the Leafs at this point.
Flames have got San Jose here tonight for, I guess, for the second time already this season and any number of games. Igor Sharangovich is going to be a healthy scratch. He's in year one of his new deal, 5 years, $5.75 million. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists, and he's not involved in any way. And he is one of those players that we talk about. If he's not scoring, what's he doing for you? He's not physical. He's not overly tenacious in any way, shape, or form. Is there any kind of a market? Is this a player that if you put on waivers, is somebody taking a shot? He had 17 in a bad year last year, and then had, oddly enough, in his contract year, 31 goals. I just wonder about the player and what the interest around the league might be, if there was any.
Yeah, there would be interest for sure. How strong? I guess it would depend on how serious Conroy and the Calgary Flames are in moving a young piece like that. Anytime, again, you have a younger player that has shown at least some level of upside, then you've got teams that are going to need that, whether they're teams that are still in a rebuild, coming out of a rebuild, a team that just needs, a little bit more balance in their youth versus what they have in experience. And every general manager and every head coach thinks, especially with the young unproven, that, okay, we have the opportunity, we have the group, we have the coach, we have the organization, the hockey operations department, to give this young guy the resources to patiently, encourage him into being a more impactful NHL player. That's always going to be the case because talented young players are hard to come by. And we kind of see that wheel and that cycle happen on an annual basis. And not very often is it with players that are younger. More often it's with, I think of Jack Roslovic. He's not an old player by any stretch of the imagination. This guy couldn't land an attractive NHL contract as a free agent, right? So he signs what he signed in Edmonton on the 1 year, and he's a real good fit for the Edmonton Oilers, and he'll probably get paid, if not by Edmonton, then by somebody else. NHL teams are always in need of a little spark. So I don't think it'd be too tough to find an audience if you're Calgary.
Yeah, he just very much looks like a guy that needs a reset, and they've done the press box.
Well, he's putting nothing. He's not giving anything back from our, sitting on the couch watching the hockey. He's not invested in playing hard. They've tried to send the message and sit him, and they've cut his ice time, and they've moved him around. It's on his. Yeah, it's on him now. It's not the organization that's letting him down. He's letting us down.
Yeah. Well, he obviously has to be better, and he's been given opportunity, and that message has probably been delivered about 1,000 times to this point.
Yeah. Out in Vancouver, Thatcher Demko stuff is reared up again. It's different. It's not connected to what it was before, but it's here.
Connected to the knee bone, Dean, and the shin bone.
Right. And we talked last year. What do you do with this guy if you're the Canucks? He's good when he's healthy. He's very good. Do you sign him? Do you keep him? And they elected to sign him. And now, before that extension even kicks in, he's hurt again.
Yeah, but not two owners of contract extension in term. And that was kind of why there was some debate as to what direction the Vancouver Canucks were going to go with Thatcher Demko. I mean, you don't let a player like that walk. But given his history of injury, there was, again, some internal discussion as to whether or not they should consider looking at some of the trade interest. And I think they just felt like, even though Lankinen was pulled off the scrap heap and has been tremendous in his time in Vancouver, they just felt like if they could get Thatcher healthy, which they did, the long-term upside far outweighed whatever you'd get back in return. And it would have been a significant return. This is just bad luck. It really is, especially for Thatcher Demko. And we don't know. It's been reported it could be 2 to 3 weeks. We'll have to see how it plays out. It's leg related, whether that's groin or whatever, doesn't really matter. It's a kick to the shins for Demko and for the Vancouver Canucks, because this team is riddled with injuries. A lot of teams are, but they're a much different team when he's between the pipes. I mean, you're going into tough buildings, or they're coming into yours. And I would think that you're scouting the Vancouver Canucks, aside from the obvious of Quinn Hughes and the push, the little push that they have up front. You're looking at the goaltending going, all right, well, here's the scouting report on Thatcher Demko and what we need to do to beat him. So you take him out of the equation for the next 2-3 weeks. Adam Foote and the Vancouver Canucks have got their boots full trying to just hold their head over water. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I feel badly for the individual because of the history of injuries here, and the Olympics are still a long way away, but obviously he was high in the conversation for Team USA, and probably still will be, provided it doesn't linger.
Yeah, we've talked about it with the Olympic thing with Mackenzie Weegar here, because it's not been a good start for Weegar, and it's it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I wonder for how many of those players would have been on. Well, I'm on the list. I was invited to the orientation camp in the summer. I got the golf shirt with the Canada logo on it, and then how that's affected their play. I think to a certain extent, it's affected Weegar. I'm not sure how much hope there was with how the team is playing here.
It's affected Bedard, and he's performed for it.
And I was going to say, and on the flip side, you've got Bedard and a kid we're going to see here tonight, Macklin Celebrini. It was one of my bold takes at the start. Macklin Celebrini is going to be on Team Canada. How do you keep the kid off? We got it this morning. He's doing what Crosby and Gretzky have done in their teenage years.
Yeah, and if you'd asked me about this 3 weeks, even maybe as far as a month ago, I just said that I didn't think there was any way Canada was going to take both those kids, Bedard and Celebrini, and I would have given the edge to Celebrini. He's just a more complete player, and just physically, I think that he can go through what he's going to have to go through in San Jose between now and the Olympic break, and feel fine and do whatever he can do to contribute to help Canada in the Olympics in Italy. I didn't think that Team Canada could be forced into having to take both Celebrini and Bedard, and I'm not so sure right now. I think that they thought their decision was going to be easy, and Bedard would be the odd man out, and maybe you lean on more experience of Nick Suzuki or Mark Scheifele. Tom Wilson's name has been thrown out there, but what if Connor Bedard doesn't let up? Right? What if he doesn't take his foot off the pedal and he continues to score? I mean, this guy is just on a clip. I don't know if you saw that game last night against New Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, he got absolutely throttled by Brendan Dillon. Just bounced up. Nothing to see here. Let's get after it. So if he's capable to playing the way he's played to this point until they've got to make that final call, then Doug Armstrong, John Cooper, and everybody contributing to those final decisions is going to have a tough one.
Yeah. There's going to be so much veteran leadership and all of that, because we talked about it yesterday. I think we had Button and Mike Johnson, their potential list. There's Tom Wilson. So, what makes Tom Wilson great is intimidation and hitting, and that that could get you in trouble in international hockey.
Even the big sized ice is a big difference. I always bring it up.
I just wonder if
it's North American ice in Italy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's NHL ice in Italy. So but that's an excellent point, Rhett, because that's why you even consider a physical presence like Tom Wilson. And I like Tom Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would want him on my team for a myriad of reasons. I think we, though, have to be mindful and careful of not getting too caught up in the Four Nations roster and that big tilt that happened with the Tkachuk brothers. And that's not going to happen on the Olympic stage. It's not. So, and Tom Wilson is far more than a fighter. Don't get me wrong. But, it'd be tough for me to look past Bedard. Suzuki's hurt right now. I know he's playing, but he's playing through something. And then Mark Scheifele, right? I mean, just a smart hockey player with the Winnipeg Jets. So they have other options. It's going to be tough.
It's wild watching these kids right now, Dregs. Leo Carlson doing what he's doing for Anaheim and the run that
awesome, yeah.
you run into Colorado, and that's not going to go well for a lot of teams. But they've been rolling, and the Sharks come in tonight. They're 6-0-1, and Celebrini's on fire, and Bedard's on a clip. It's amazing. Rhett's got a young kid that is playing at a high level. You had your son play at a high level. Just how ready that they are when they step in here. It's not everybody.
Not everybody.
To be a teenager, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and Rhett would see it firsthand. And I had this conversation with Duncan Keith. How about that for a name drop? As part of the Hall of Fame the other day, and Joe Thornton as well. They're both coaches, and it feels like where the game has turned from a teaching perspective is more on skating than than anything else. And I'm not just talking about straightaway speed and stride and all, like the edge work that these kids have now and their ability to do it in small areas with the puck. I mean, that's a credit to coaching. When my guy first got going, like Bobby McKenzie would tease me all the time. And he, Mike is the general manager of the Kitchener Rangers. He played college hockey, played high level. Sean was a high level player. But they didn't have extra coaches back then. I mean, you went to hockey practice and you played games. By the time my kid, was like 10, 11 years old, he's got a power skating instructor. Now he's got to go to skills, additional 2-3 times a week.
Dry land.
Oh, yeah, there's dry land. He's got to go to the gym 4 times a week when he's 11, 12 years old. And that's just, do, re, mi coming out of your pocket. But we did it. I don't think that the percentages are getting larger. At the end of the day, it's in your DNA. Like you're either more or less born to be a National Hockey League player or you're not. But this added coaching from all those different areas, I think that prepares these guys to jump into the National Hockey League at 18. I mean, look at Matthew Schaefer, for heaven's sake.
Another one. Not spoke about him, and it's
Like, I mean, again, that's coaching and DNA. That's what it is.
You had some Shane Pinto news this morning.
I did. Yeah. That's a good deal for Shane Pinto. 4 years contract extension with the Ottawa Senators, $7.5 million annual average salary. And, they would have gone through the gamut as you just do now in contract negotiations. I'm sure that the club wanted him at a much longer term. Then you do wrestle with the AAV. If we're giving you 4 years, then we need the number to look like this and all of that. I mean, they exhausted every single scenario. I just think that this is a great deal for Pinto because as we know what the salary cap is going to be for the next 2 years. You've got Brady Tkachuk, who isn't that far away from needing attention contractually in Ottawa, but he's the head of the snake.
Yeah.
So I think Staios has done a real good job of making sure that all the core pieces around Brady are getting looked after so that maybe it's a little bit easier when you're into the heavy lifting of the negotiation with Brady, because you can say, hey, we know what you can command and we're willing to pay it. We just want you to stay so that we can continue to build what we have into a Stanley Cup contender. So pretty good work that got done. And by the way, we had an Olympic conversation. I don't like Pinto doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, around the league. This kid is 100% deep in the conversation of making Team USA, as he should. I mean, his offensive numbers are decent. Who doesn't want a right side faceoff guy, right? So he'll be in the mix for sure.
I know that you love football and you love meat, and there's a Grey Cup game. Will you be
go Riders go?
Or will you be Grey Cupping this weekend? I assume it's kind of a silly question, but
yeah, kind of silly. But it'll be a family affair, and by family, just my wife and I. I've got buddies that are going up to a cottage this weekend, but I did that a few weeks ago. Left my wife by herself. We're empty nest now. I just don't think it's the right thing to do.
Oh, for fuck's sake. What a crock of shit.
That's so. I do
Yeah.
have some work. I do have some work to do, but yeah, I'll get the smoker going on Sunday for a little Grey Cup action, and be quiet, but we'll be there. And I, you know what? The Riders gave me a shirt, like a hoodie, like 100 years ago, and it's still pristine. I only bring it out for special occasions, and obviously, winning the Grey Cup is going to be a special occasion.
It'll be so cool to win in Winnipeg.
By the way, Jeff O'Neill and the Overdrive boys just flew into Winnipeg today, and the O-Dog is not having it. He's not having it. He's like, I don't know, what are we doing here?
Because we've got Noodles, right? Because Noodles is there. He's like, I'm jammed up this week, but I can make Friday work. So you slid to let Jay. So is Noodles going to stay for the game? Like, he's been in Winnipeg for a day and a half now. I can't wait. Or I guess I don't know. They get there today, but
I'm not sure those guys know how many downs are in the Canadian football. Hayeswood. Hayeswood. That'd be it.
Well, your husband of the year material there, Dregs. Good stuff.
I am.
Very nice. Appreciate you. Enjoy the
guys.
game.
Have a great weekend.
Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.